Is your stutter there because it sounds like you can make it invisible and make it sound like you don't have a disability or a different ability?
I manage my stutter. There's no pill, there's no shot, there's no cure for stuttering. And they have no idea what truly causes it. They think there's 5 different triggers. I happen to hit all 5 of them. I'm a 5 for 5 guy, Aaron. But
Mm.
every challenge holds a story. Every struggle is a spark. Welcome to A Legend Forged, where athletes, heroes, and fearless fighters of disability defy the odds and rewrite the rules. Learn to live an unfiltered life with the unstoppable Aron O'Dowd. A Legend Forge begins now. In this episode of A Legend Forge, I have the honor of stepping out from producing A Legend Forge to be on camera with Aron O'Dowd as he asked me about my disabilities and my struggles of living with a lifelong stutter, having bad eyes, and being deaf in one ear. We begin the show today as Aaron's asked me about what have I learned about living with a lifelong disability. Here now is the host, Aron O'Dowd.
Um, you have stutters, you have bad eyes, you've maybe hearing impaired, we'll find out, but what is the biggest thing you've learned having a different ability slash disability?
The biggest thing is I think for me with the stutter especially is slow down and breathe. And I think a lot of people with disabilities, that's a common thing. I think we all have to figure out how to slow down, breathe, and we can get through almost anything if we're allowed the chance to slow down and breathe.
Wow, and tell us how you navigate your stutter through your day-to-day going-ons.
So, especially when I was a child, we have to go back in time to really understand. As a child, I could barely speak a complete sentence. It was at the point where, especially if you don't know about stutters, when we say our names, we introduce ourselves. Saying our name is the hardest thing in the world for almost any stutter. So introducing myself in school, introducing myself to a cute looking girl, introduce myself to anybody was a train wreck. And I saw their faces, I saw their body tense up. So I'm immediately reading them saying, what's going to happen? Why can't this kid speak? And then as I saw that, my nervousness went up. And then I began to realize they're freaking out. I'm kind of freaking out. I don't want to freak out. And it was kind of like this whole cyclone tornado thing that builds up inside of a little kid of like, what do I do? I'm trapped. So over the years, I learned that my mind had great ideas. And I was smart kid, but I couldn't answer questions in the classroom. I would trip over my words. I would labeled small, dumb, things like that back in the day. That's what they called us. Now they say mentally challenged. But what I really found out was if I could slow down what my mind wanted to speak and tell people, if I could match up the speed of my mouth to the speed of my brain, I can do this. And it really dissipated in my late 20s and opened up the door of broadcasting. But up until my mid 20s, I was a train wreck because of my mouth.
You sound so polished right now, Rich, but can you give us an example or present as an example what a stutter looks like so people can understand when they see it?
Yeah. So to me, I explain it like you're driving down the road in your car, you're talking really well, everything is great. And then someone slams a gate down, or you're stuck in one of those loops, like those never ending circles, and you can't get out and pull your car back in the lane that you want to go. You're stuck in a circle. So I would be talking, and then someone would say, who are you? And I'd go, and I couldn't get past Richard. I couldn't get past the R. Certain letters are harder for stutters, the K's, the R's. So my parents called me Richard Bontrager. Thank you very much, Mom. I love you for that because it made it harder growing up because of the R. Funny thing is, my mom stutters as well. So in our house, we had me stuttering, my mom stuttering. Neither one could complete a sentence. So that repetitive sound is what a stutter is. And many stutters learn different tricks. There's a lot of different ways to do it. For me, I never had formal speech therapy. My parents never made a big deal out of it because they just thought that's just you. He'll grow out of it. Some children do. And the other thing was that they just thought, mom's dealt with it all her life. So can you. Suck it up, boy.
And in your brain, how does it feel when you're trying to uh, uh, overcome the stutter and yet communicate normally?
So, as a child, the embarrassment would go up. My face got flushed immediately. People could see my face lit up like a red stoplight, man. I could not hide my emotion at all. Um, to my family, friends, especially my cousin, Brian is my best friend, my cousin. He had a real hard time with it because he was an athlete, a cool kid. So he'd be standing next to me who can't say a word, and he's looking really cool. So that anxiety in my brain of why can't I be as cool as Brian? Why can't I do this like Brian? Why can't I do that? That anxiety spun around a lot. And I was very self conscious, very self aware. In the classroom, after a while, even though I was so smart, I stopped raising my hand. I didn't want to participate. I didn't want to be the butt of everyone's jokes. Um, Back in the day, you have to stand up and you would read a paragraph in the book that all the classes are reading together. And the teacher would say, Rich, it's your turn. Stand up and read your paragraph. I couldn't get through the first two words, Aaron.
Wow.
And then I hear the snickering. Then I would hear the nicknames: Bomb Booger, Butt Rayer, Richard Ron Rager, Bontrager. I heard them all as I'm trying to read. I would most times drop the book, run out of the room crying. All the while, my mind is racing, saying, I can read the book. I read great. Have great competition. Why can't I get the words out of my mouth?
How does it feel to be in that situation as an adult?
As an adult now, I'm really cool with it. Again, in my mid 20s, when I figured out how to balance the rate and the speed of my brain to my mouth, um, I was acting, I was traveling, I was performing, and they were really worried that I could not do the performance because my stutter would kick in. One play, one night, I was a total character. I was not Rich Bontrager. I fell into another personality and it unlocked the performance side of me. And when I unlocked the performance side, it let me know there's another side of me that I need to explore. Because they thought when I was a creative in school, I was looking out the window and dreaming. I wasn't looking out the window dreaming. I was looking out out the window, listening, and there were word pictures in my mind telling me what the teacher was teaching. I'm very visual driven. They did not understand. They thought I was a stupid kid looking out the window, not paying attention. When I unlocked the drama side, the other personality of Rich, those two worlds came back together. It was like, I have to pursue creativity. I have to be allowed to be bold, be boisterous, be character driven, have a personality instead of being a quiet, shy kid. So I actually went the opposite direction of a stutter, and you couldn't shut me up. So it changed my world by having that moment. It really did.
Do you feel like you're performing, trying to hide your stutter?
That's part of it. There's a secret with all stutters. We do not want you to know we stutter. Not a single stutter wants you to know that. So there is different ways. Some people tap the table. They have a rhythm. They know tapping the table. Samuel L. Jackson, great actor, great action guy. You love him in all the Marvel movies. He stutters for a living. His favorite way to get out of it is to drop the F bomb. So he uses it on camera a lot. He uses it in films. Sometimes now, is he doing that to cover up his stutter, to snap out of it? Because that releases him again. It resets him, he says. Emily Blunt stutters. She says, like me, I take on a persona, I take on a character. I'm not Emily the stutter, I'm somebody else. That was her trick to get around it. So there are different ways of doing it. And people might think it's a crutch, it's an escape, that we're escaping ourselves. It's actually one of the better versions of ourselves. I get
Why
to do what I get to do as a broadcaster, communicator. I get to live on TV and video, which I've always wanted to do. As a 10-year-old kid, I wanted to be a broadcaster. I would mimic the broadcaster when my dad was watching the football game. My parents would say, shut up. We want to listen to the professionals. Lo and behold, I became one of those professionals because I wouldn't shut up. I had to learn how to take on that persona.
Why is it important to take on that persona?
For me, this is my livelihood. This is my career. This is where I thrive. That persona also allows me to communicate people, and people are more relaxed. Most people do not know I stutter now, which is amazing because what I do is I cut and paste my words as I talk a lot of time, Aaron. So sometimes I will give a short answer, and sometimes my answer can be a little bit longer because I'm editing what I want to say because I can feel the stutter kicking in. And I know if I say a different word, I won't stutter.
Oh,
And so I'm literally cutting and pasting my sentences sometime, all the time. And most people say, I've never heard you stutter. You talk shows, interviews, you're on stage. And I'm like, you have no idea how much I stutter. The other thing is that I do embrace my stutter now more than ever. I used to hide it and hide it. What I found out was when I'm live on stage giving a keynote or something like that, if the stutter kicks in, I can feel the audience tense up. I can feel the room lock up like, oh, here comes a train wreck. What are we sitting here paying for listening to this guy? So I actually would go, that's my stutter, folks. Let me just reset for a second and we'll go right on. Everyone laughs. They take a deep breath because I'm okay. They're okay. Instead of feeling that tense thing that fills the room. So I've learned to break the intensity of what my stutter creates.
for me, with my vision impairment, I live with it throughout the day and throughout my lives, and it's there. But is your stutter there because it sounds like you can make it invisible and make it sound like you don't have a disability or a different ability?
It's always with me. It's lessened far more than it was as a kid. There are certain people, because of my history with them, the stutter comes up more naturally.
Okay.
Uh, I can talk to my mom on the phone, and when I do talk to my mother on the phone, my cousin, my fiance, other people will say, "Did you talk to your mom today?" I was like, "Why? You're stuttering more." So there's something about those different people that will pull back out of you, but otherwise, I I manage my stutter. There's no pill, there's no shot, there's no cure for stuttering. And they have no idea what truly causes it. They think there's five different triggers. I happen to hit all five of them. I'm a 5 for 5 guy, Aaron, but
Mm.
they don't have a cure. So it's never fully gone. I just learn to manage it.
Why do you have to manage it?
That's a great question. That's a great question, Aaron. Why do I have to? Because they're never going to hire a stuttering broadcaster. Okay, when one growing up, that's never going to happen. As a keynote speaker and public speaker, it's very hard to get speaking gigs. Now, people have done many TED talks on stuttering. There
Mhm.
are entertainers like when I was young watching Johnny Carson. There was a guy named Mel Tillis. He was a country western singer. He had a voice of an angel. The room would stop when Mel began to sing. When he sat on the couch and talked to Johnny Carson, he could not say a word. Literally, his stutter was so bad. What he did was, and Johnny actually helped him with this. What he did is he turned this into his comedic routine. He would start to talk, he would stutter, and Johnny would poke fun of him. Like, what are you trying to say, Mel? Just spit it out. Come on, Mel. You can do it. I know you can. And then he's laughing and joking, and he can say a couple words. Stutter kicks back in. They go through another. And so it became part of his persona of owning that stutter. That was never a route that I felt comfortable in. To me, it was like high intelligent father, judge, lawyer, two brothers that are brainiacs, a cousin that's a brainiac, and there's a babbling rich. That was a running joke. I wanted to be like them. I never thought about fully embracing it kind of the way I do now.
And how do you embrace it in the work you do?
I talk to people about, because a lot of people who come to me for my consulting and coaching is they do have something they want to cover up or they don't want to they don't know how to look good on camera. They don't know how to use their body gestures. They don't know how to just smile and even relax. Smiles one of the most important things on camera. And so they've got something that they can't master. So I relate it to my stutter and I let them know, look, I have a stutter. I found a way to manage it. I've found a way to work this through. You can work through it too. And then when people go, Really? You stutter. You overcame that. Wow, there's hope for me. And it lets them know they're talking to the right guy. It let them know that I can relate to a barrier that they need to come overcome. And actually, they trust me even more.
Why do people trust you to overcome their deepest, darkest challenges?
Well, part of it's the stutter. Part of it's my charming personality. Aaron. Come on, no. Part of it also is I was in the church ministry. Again, pastors stuttering and reading scripture is not going to attract a lot of people to church. Okay, it's not going to work. But I would do that, and when people heard the rest of the story, they understood my background, how God had worked through taming the tongue, giving me the insights of how to do it. When they heard that side of the story, the trust built because if God can use a guy that can stutter to grow a church and help people, God can help anybody. And that extra story is part of the stutter story for me.
Gee, why a pastor, you know?
I felt called. I always wanted to do it. Um, about 20 years ago, we were talking about this, my parents and I was still in church ministry at the time, and I was still doing radio and television. But my mom and dad said, "Do you remember? You used to be down in the basement, and you were talking to your army men and talking to your Batman and Superman action figures." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I had totally forgotten this, Aaron. Totally forgotten. And then it came back to me like a flood. I had built a little podium. I had put them on the floor in different seats, and I would look to the left and talk to Batman. I would look to the right and talk to my G.I. Joe. And I had these different action figures and dinosaurs, and I was preaching to my toys. And it was always something within me. And even as we went through that story again, grandparents, other family and friends says, "You've always had a strong faith. We've always sensed that you're to do something with that." And then the pastor that influenced my life the most growing up in, invited me, pushed me to preach on Youth Sunday. We had never done one before at a church. And of all the cool kids in my youth group, he said, "Rich, I want you to preach." He did not coach what I was going to speak on. I came up with my own sermon. He approved it, massaged a couple little things that were not quite accurate. Uh, and then I presented it. And in fact, I was just talking to a dear friend that was in the crowd. I was talking to her recently. We grew up together. She was in the church. And she said, "I can remember you getting up there, all of us in the youth row, all sat together. We were afraid Rich was going to crash and burn in front of the church horribly." Now, everyone already knows I stutter in the church. They're all friends and family, great people that I went to school with. But they all thought, "Oh, this is going to be all the way through it." They said, "I think you stuttered once, maybe." And that was at like age 12.
Wow.
And it was my pastor's belief that says, "I see in you." My grandmother was the other one. My grandmother was one that let me read comic books in her yard. I would mow her lawn, and she would say, "Come on, bring some comic books along." I love to read the comic book. My mind's full of imagination. And then I would do reading the comic books in the voice of Batman from Saturday morning cartoon, Scooby Doo, all these different characters. She let me do the character voices, and I would not stutter doing the characters. Now that was my early teens, and she unlocked the fact that again he can read, he can do it, but he's not going to do it like the other kids in the class. He needs to be a character. And it took me until I was in my 20s to fully embrace that.
What is important to be in the character to enhance and empower the voice you have?
So for the broadcasting side, I figure out that I do have to project. There is an energy that comes with bringing in the stand. You don't want to scream. Several highly professional people coach me on that in the broadcasting field. Don't scream, but you want to project your energy because you are the storyteller. The guy's digging a home plate, the wind's blowing left or right, the dust is kicking in, the guy at first base is leaning in just a little bit, and here comes the pitch. And you want to have a different influx in your voice. You have an energy to your voice. Well, when I began to master the storytelling side, I was Rich the broadcaster, but I was partly Rich the character of a broadcaster.
When I watch your show, Rich, it's all about authors and TV and movies, and that probably is the essence of you as well, right?
Yes, yes. I'm still trying to get my first book done, but I love talking to these creators. I love talking to film producers, to directors, to actors. I love talking about the art. And again, as I've already mentioned, several do stutter. There are actually more than you realize that stutter. Um, Performers. Ed Sheeran lives with a lifelong stutter. And
Mhm.
but when Ed Sheeran sings a song, it's like not stuttering, it's beautiful. So there's something about, and in fact, I am studying on my own. I'm trying to do some research. I'm going to do a keynote on the connection of creativity to stuttering. There is something about, I've read so much, I've talked to so many that when they do become somebody else or step out of the norm and take on this creative persona as a writer, as a speaker, whatever it is, when they step in their creative essence, the stutter falls away. I would love to know why that is more and more.
Yeah, because you think it'd be a brain part or neurological, the fact that you step out of one character into another character.
Right. But the more you learn to do it, the more you go there. And it's very interesting. Emily Lunt is married to a fellow actor, and I've seen him on talk shows, and they'll talk about, so at home, does she stutter? He goes, yeah. I don't love her any less, but sometimes she can't get it out. And so, again, laughter is one of those things I had to learn about too. If people laughed at me as a child with my stutter, it ripped me apart. I was done for the day. I came home from school so many times crying because of the bully, being picked on, and the laughter. I have now have embraced the laughter of a stutter. Like I said, I'll make a noise. I'll tell everybody. I'll laugh. And I said, I know that sounded really stupid. I have no idea what I just said, but let me try it again. There's something about embracing humor, which I'm
Mhm.
sure many of the people that have disabilities that you interview, Aaron, I'm sure somewhere they talk about I had to get over that thing and
Mhm.
laugh like everybody else because it does look kind of stupid sometimes walking with a prosthetic leg or whatever we have,
Yes.
having an eye patch and being a pirate for the rest of your life, whatever it is. Some people, I'm sure, probably feel like laughter is one of the best cures.
Oh, and it sure is, and it probably feels now that you don't have the anxiety that you used to have as a kid trying to say the most simplest sentences.
No, it is. It's liberating. It's free. My publicist is great. Robert Sachs, a great guy, but he every so often will go, I got a guy. He's a real A-lister, but I don't want to put you in a bad situation. I'm like, line him up, man. I'm done being afraid of anybody. Bring him on. There's a different confidence. And even if I blow it, I'm okay with it. And again, I think that's one of the biggest freeing parts, I think, for anyone with a disability. And that's why a Legend Forward is so great, Aaron. You're doing a great job. But I think
Mhm.
the freedom when you embrace your disability. I hated that word growing up. I hated it.
We
I
all
would
do.
never accept that I was disabled. That was one of the things that my imagination would not accept I was disabled. I understand I have something that's different, but it's never going to limit me.
Where were your confidence rich growing up? And that's the first part. And the second part is where does it stand now?
My confidence was non-existent. I joke about the fact I couldn't ask a girl out. I actually did have a girlfriend, and this was another one of those. She was one that taught me about laughter is okay. We were. I was going to ask her out for a bigger date. My confidence was very nervous that day. It was going to be a higher level date. And my stutter was kicking in. I couldn't go for the ask. I couldn't say the right words. And she's looking at me and she finally says, just stop, stop. I know you have something important to ask me. You know I'm already going to say yes. So just smile and laugh, take a sec, and ask me. And it was the first time that her laughter matched my laughter. And I got out of being that tiny, shameful, hidden boy that wanted to ask a girl out but couldn't do it. And that was very liberating. That was the first time that really changed that. Nowadays, the confidence is there and it's not a bravado, it's not a fake thing, it's not something I have to bring about. This is just something I am confident of who I am. I know my limitations and I embrace my limitations.
Yeah.
And again, I'm deaf in one ear. I'm left ear is dead dumb. You ever play Marco Polo in the water with a guy who's deaf
Yeah.
and he can't pick up 360 sound? That was the butt of another joke. I have bad eyes. When you talk to me in person off stage, people don't know where my eyes are looking. Sometimes they will be, I'm looking at you. I know I'm looking at you. My eyes are looking somebody else. And people spin around trying to figure out what I'm looking at when I'm talking to you. I have lived with all these things, but I'm okay with it. And that's where the confidence is great now that I'm okay.
What was that point when you realized I'm okay with everything I have?
That was in those 20s, that was in that early 20s. That was when I did that play. Um, when we did that play and they were worried they weren't going to let us do that. If we did not do the play, the whole week, 10-week drama tour was going to be puppets. And the director made it very clear. The director said, if Rich can't play this role tonight, we are going to have you guys do puppets because Rich is great at voices. There's that creative person. There's that voice guy coming out. He can do puppets great. But we can't do this play because he can't pull off the big bad Roman soldier who's a threat to everybody. He just can't do it. When that transformation happened, the rest of the summer, not only did I hit the play with every show on target, on character, I became the spokesman for the team, any newspaper interview, anything like that. And if we were at a church, they wanted a guest speaker, I was the guest speaker. That all happened in one summer over 10 weeks here. That's a
Wow,
transformation that
it is.
says, I'm okay.
And what do you think that, let's just say, miracle or drug or aha moment of I'm okay, I've overcome this?
And it was a miracle. I totally give credit to God. I talk about learning the skills, how to balance my speed, rate, and things like that. But literally, it was the night of the event. It was do or die for Rich, and Rich knew it was do or die for Rich and his 7 other teammates who were wanting to do this. And I was going to be the one that was going to blow it for everybody. Talk about a little bit of pressure backstage. Think about that, Aaron. The backstage pressure of you're going to kill our drama for the summer. It was a 40-minute drama. And during the performance, I was so in character, so energized, in the flow that my fellow actors would look at me and I could see in their eyes of like, where's Rich? Because Rich ain't here. This is not Rich. This is the bad Roman soldier been trying to get for 8 weeks now. And he's here finally showing up. You could see it in their eyes that something changed. And so I have to give credit to God. I have to give maturity. I have to give my imagination. And now I blend all things together and I've stepped into go talk, go speak, and own the stage and the microphone. Don't fear it like I used to. You have to embrace it. So now I love the microphone. I love the camera. I love doing what I get to do. And I think that's part of the passion side. There's got to be a passion and a fire. I mean, you've got a passion and fire for what you do, Aaron. Come on, talk about. I mean, you understand there's got to be a passion to
There
push
is.
through the barrier, right?
For sure. And you work in a pressurized environment, Rich, of performing, being on air, being on radio. That must have put pressure on your own stutter and your own ability because you're like, if I don't perform now, it will be a flop.
So in the early days of my radio days, I actually pre-recorded a couple of things every radio shift. So every radio shift, you have the hourly top of the hour. You're listening to WVOE FM, blah, 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 blah. So I would pre-record that. So I would not butcher that at the top of the hour. I would pre-record my weather off air in the studio because I didn't
Mhm.
want to trip up doing it live. And when it came time to the 7:05 weather report, I hit play. Eventually, I got rid of all those things. But in the beginning, because exactly what you said, if I blew it, I would not have a job. And so I
Mhm.
covered that by pre-recording myself. The only thing I pre-record today is my live shows that are completely live, or I pre-record my commercial work, things like that. Otherwise, everything is real, authentic, and unscripted. And You've been on my show, you know, there's no
Yeah.
stop and pausing and edit
No.
out.
Rich, is there one piece of advice you'd love to share, for our audience to understand that they can also overcome obstacles in their own different abilities/disabilities?
You know, I've talked to a lot of people that would be labeled disabled in some factor, myself too. Um, the thing I talk to most people about is find that it factor. What is it that helps you get free of what you have? Is it imagination? Is it you're a writer and you fall into the pen and paper and you write crazy? You might be in a wheelchair, but you're writing like nuts. Painters. There was a Christian singer by the name of Johnny. She was in a chair. She was paralyzed, but she painted with a toothbrush in her mouth and became an all-star painter. Sold her paintings for big mega bucks. When you find that thing, I say fully embrace it all the way. No matter if people laugh at you, if they never understand you,
Mhm.
go for it and never look back.
Rich Bontrager, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast, and I look forward to seeing you rocking the stage as you always do. And thank you so much.